I'm the Public Information Officer for the Illinois State Board of Elections. Election security and especially cybersecurity has been very much in the news, and especially here in Illinois over the past year. So we thought we'd bring you all together just to give you a briefing on what's been going on our side and what we've been doing to prepare for the November 6th election. And so I'm going to turn things over now to our Executive Director, Steve Sandvoss. We have numerous panelists here from all facets of the election system. And
as I was introduced, my name is Steven Sandvoss. I'm the Executive Director of the Illinois State Board of Elections. I want to welcome you all to the James R. Thompson Center for this press conference. As you all know, in July of 2016, the Illinois State Board of Elections was the victim of a malicious cyber attack when hackers breached the statewide voter registration database that we maintain. In the immediate aftermath of that incident, we implemented new cybersecurity policies and procedures to guard against future attacks, while at the same time working with the FBI and Department of Homeland Security as they investigated the source of the attack. In the 2 years since then, we learned that the attack on the State Board of Elections was not an isolated incident by a lone actor, but part of an extensive operation by the Russian government aimed at eroding voters' confidence in the American election systems nationwide. A recent federal indictment in July charged several Russian military officials with the intrusion on our database, and the Department of Homeland Security has advised election officials across the country to expect more such attempts to disrupt elections this year. In response to these warnings, the State Board of Elections has taken action to enhance cybersecurity both within our own office and among the 108 local election authorities who register voters and conduct elections throughout the state. The State Board of Elections this year has hired 3 cybersecurity specialists, one of whom is stationed at the Illinois State Police's State Terrorism Intelligence Center. We currently are in the process of launching our Cyber Navigator program, which uses federal funding to provide all local election officials in Illinois the resources to implement best cybersecurity practices. We also have entered into an agreement with the Illinois National Guard to have some of their cybersecurity specialists available on and before Election Day to aid in response to any suspected cybersecurity attacks against our election system. We've relied on many partners in these efforts, and some of them are here with us today. Joining us here, we have Sally Turner, the Clerk of Logan County, and also past president of the Illinois Clerks Association. Noah Prates, who is the Director of Elections for the Cook County Clerk's Office. We have Chris Hill of the Illinois Department of Innovation and Technology. We have Alex Joves, Regional Director of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security in their Office of Infrastructure Protection. We also have Adjutant General Richard Hayes of the Illinois National Guard. And we also have State Board of Elections Chairman William Cadigan. We're also joined here by staff specialists from the Illinois State Board of Elections to answer any questions that you might have. Each of us present here represent important components of our election security efforts, and I'd like to give each a chance to say a few words before we open it up to your questions. So I'll start off by inviting our chairman, William Cadigan, up to make a few remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Good afternoon. My name is Bill Cadigan, and I serve as the chairman of the Illinois State Board of Elections. Under the Illinois Constitution and the Illinois Election Code, the composition of our 8-member board is split evenly between Democrats and Republicans. I'm joined by my colleague Chuck, if you want to come and join me. The work we do to oversee voter registration and election administration is done by a nonpartisan staff here in Chicago and Springfield. As Steve noted, in 2016, there was an intrusion into our voter database system. No voter registration records were altered or modified or taken, and no election results were compromised. But that event did cause us to take action to make our systems more secure, and it prompted us to form relationships with other state and federal agencies to expand our knowledge of cybersecurity threats and strengthen our ability to detect those threats. I'm proud today that the citizen soldiers of the Illinois National Guard Cybersecurity Unit will be among our partners in this area. Our agency joins the approximately 20 other election authorities around the country that have National Guard units providing cybersecurity support. The nonpartisan and professional mission of the National Guard is an ideal complement to the work that we do here at the State Board of Elections, and on behalf of the entire board, we're grateful for their technical assistance that it will be available if we need it. So Chuck, if you want to say a few words too.
Well, thank you. My name's Chuck Schultz, and I was Bill's predecessor. I want to commend him for his leadership as chairman. So I was a chairman when we were attacked. We all have a heightened sense of awareness of this issue as a result. I was also a newly elected mayor of downstate Quincy on the Mississippi River 25 years ago when the National Guard came to our rescue. General Lynn, General Hayes' predecessor, at 3 a.m. on the night that we lost the levee and got cut off without a bridge between St. Louis, Missouri and Burlington, Iowa, I learned the value of the Guard. And we had a threat then, we have a threat now, and they're responding, and we are very appreciative.
Thank you, Chuck. General Hayes, I'd like to call you up now for remarks.
Thank you very much. I'm Major General Richard Hayes, the commander and the adjutant general of the Illinois National Guard. Cyber is not unknown to the Department of Defense nor the National Guard. The Department of Defense says defend the nation, is contained in our Constitution, just like I have in our Constitution here in the state is defend and protect our state. Department of Defense has been in the cyber arena for a very, very long time as a result of the internet and all the things that we enjoy today having emanated out of the labs of the Department of Energy and the Department of Defense. So this is not unknown to us. The Illinois National Guard has quite a bit of robust cyber capability that we've had for many years, and we're in a role to posture ourselves to support Bill and the entire State Board of Elections in the county should they need assistance during the time as the election proceeds. So we're glad to be able to support our partners in this, and we just stand ready to support the state to assure that hopefully we have a very smooth and error-free and problem-free election. Thank you very much.
County, and in Illinois, we have what's referred to as a bottom-up election system. And at the state board, we administer and certify election results, and but really the elections and the voter registrations are conducted by the local officials like county clerks like Sally.
Thanks, Matt. Hi, thanks for having me here today. My name is Sally Turner. I'm the Logan County Clerk and Recorder in Lincoln, Illinois, which is one of our southern counties. And I've been County Clerk and Recorder for 24 years. And I've been deeply involved in the election cybersecurity portion of the election administration. And I just have a little statement I'd like to read on behalf of my fellow county clerks. Election authorities in Illinois are at work diligently preparing for the general election. We have been doing so for months. Amongst all the filings, ballot preparation, coding, publications, voter maintenance, and registrations, we have also been challenged with more vigorous protection to our electronic systems and networks for elections. We want our communities and our voters to know that we as elected officials in Illinois are focused on protecting our systems with rigorous attention to cybersecurity. Throughout the last year, the election jurisdictions in Illinois, as a part of the Illinois Association of County Clerks, have had training on several levels to disseminate, interpret, and implement cybersecurity awareness. In Normal, Illinois, in June of this year, clerks, their deputies, and network administrators met for training offered by the Election Assistance Commission, Department of Homeland Security, Illinois Department of Innovation and Technology, as well as the Center for Internet Security, or EISEC. This thorough and detailed conference offered detailed training and exercises from the Belfer Center at Harvard University to gain a better understanding of securing elections from cyber threats and creating a better election to gain a better understanding of securing elections. Better secure posture in our jurisdiction. The EAC, the EISEC, and Homeland Security also went into great detail to instruct election officials and their staff on best practices and provided information to each election jurisdiction with outreach tools. We furthered this training by offering it in our 4 statewide zones and disseminated more information to each with tools for continuing to harden our systems and processes. Those jurisdictions without on-site network administrators were offered one-on-one counsel with the various aforementioned entities to assist them in specific training and advice on firewall and email protection and awareness. Individually, the Cook County Director of Elections, Noah Prats, who's here today, myself, along with the Illinois State Police, DeWitt, and the State Board of Elections personnel were also trained at the Belfer Center and the Center for Internet Security to assist our fellow partners in election on best practices in their jurisdictions. We are prepared and ready with the help of many local, state, and federal agencies, as well as new partnership cybersecurity unit of the Illinois National Guard and the Illinois State Board of Elections Cyber Navigator program. We will be offered immediate service to the National Cyber Situational Awareness Room through EI-ISAC from the end of October through November 9th, as well as the Department of Homeland Security, the HISN Situational Awareness Room, and of course STIC. Both will, or all will offer immediate service to all the election jurisdictions if needed. We want our communities and voters to know that those of us who were elected to the offices of county clerk work diligently to offer secure and impartial elections with the utmost integrity, and our oath as clerks to uphold the laws of the state of Illinois and the Constitution of the United States resonates in us all. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Noah Prates. I'm the Director of Elections in suburban Cook County, so that's all of Cook County except for Chicago. I also serve as the co-chair of the Government Coordinating Council, which is helping to drive and direct the U.S. Homeland Security Department's efforts in this area. In 2016, our elections were attacked on two fronts. The first front, and the most disruptive, was the disinformation campaign that readily fed on divisions already evident amongst our citizens and exacerbated by our politics. The second front, with the only known minimal intrusion here in Illinois, was on the election infrastructure. As election officials, we cannot do a whole lot about the disinformation campaigns, but we can and we must secure our portion of the line, the election infrastructure. In the face of malicious cyber actors, including nation states, we frame security not just as the ability to defend our systems, but on our ability to discover breaches and recover from them. We rely upon a variety of digital services, vote counting systems, voter registration systems, e-poll books, election day management systems, election management systems, and more. Each of these digital services is a ripe target for adversaries. But voters here should feel confident in the fundamentals, because in Illinois, we can ensure every legal voter can vote, and we can deliver results that are trusted and true. We have a paper artifact, or a ballot, for every single voter, and we do hand-counted audits. In the most unlikely occurrence of a successful attack on the vote counting software, we would find it, and the vote tally will be correct when the results are officially certified. Similarly, because we offer Election Day registration and have provisional ballots, in the event of a successful attack on a voter registration system, we can still conduct an election that enfranchises all voters. We're well protected from catastrophic breach and can fulfill our duties. However, service disruptions short of catastrophe, like attacks on websites, for example, are events that are increasingly likely. The simple fact is, all digital services are vulnerable, and even well-funded corporate entities like Equifax and Uber, HBO, Sony, and Target cannot defend them perfectly all the time. Underfunded election offices face longer odds. Local election officials are the ones who run elections, but the 108 of us in Illinois and 8,000 nationally cannot defend them alone. And so we're thankful for the help of the group here assembled today, for the help of U.S. Homeland Security. We're thankful that the federal government released $13 million to Illinois. We're thankful for the State Board of Elections, who's making some of that money available to us immediately and spinning up programs that will support us into the future. We look forward to this coordinated and managed approach to harnessing all available resources from the public sector, like Homeland Security, the Department of Innovation and Technology, and the National Guard, and also the free tools and help available from the private sector, like Google, Cloudflare, and Microsoft. Local election officials need this direct expertise and support, and the Illinois Navigator program is the exact right approach, and we look forward to it getting started and helping support all of our locals, particularly those extremely under-resourced. The bottom line is we all take security seriously and always have, but today, with higher probability attacks, we're spending much more time and resources to protect our infrastructure and deliver services as you expect them. To the voters, Help protect our democracy against the disinformation campaign attacks by being careful with what you like or share on social media, by checking the sourcing, even considering other sides of issues. Then go vote and have your say in our democracy as the election officials do our part and protect the infrastructure. Thank you.
Thanks, Noah. At this point, we'll open it up to your questions, and we've got a large panel here, a lot of subject matter experts, and we'll have them step forward, whoever can best address whatever your questions are. Anybody?
Major General, can you better understand, better explain your role here? Are you standing and waiting for something to happen, or is this a proactive thing the National Guard is involved in? Is this the first time the Guard has been involved in election security? Can you better explain what's going on here?
Yeah, so I'll describe it in this way. The team that I have is really a backup team to the team that's already in place here in the state with the State Board of Elections. We offer a depth of skill and capacity that, and its capacity, you know, the State Board of Elections and other parts of the Illinois government can't have a lot of capacity sitting around waiting for election to come. So we're kind of that backdrop. The skill sets we bring are much like the skill sets we already have within the state, but we just have a broader set of people available to support that.
How many people are we talking about?
In the hundreds.
People to do, like, can you just break it down very basically for the layperson? Like people on computers, like fighting hackers?
Yeah, so just imagine these are very highly specialized IT personnel that defend the Department of Defense network when we're doing our military responsibility. We're going to take that same skill and ability and shift it to help support any intrusions, any things that pop up during the election where we feel that their capacity may be short, where we can come in and provide specific skills to look at the networks, you name it, anything to do with the networks, the IT systems along the line.
Are you active right now, or do you stand by? How does that all work?
So the Illinois National Guard, I have 13,000 in the Illinois National Guard. I have 2,500 guardsmen that work for me every day. That's their job. So I have capacity right now that is working for me right now down in Springfield. It's available to the State Board of Election, but we're in a standby mode should they call us out for support.
What would cause them to, maybe this is a question for you, what would cause you to reach out to your folks at the National Guard?
Calls from people like Sally to say that something's amiss. But I want to address a earlier part of your question about how much experience does the National Guard have on these kinds of issues. And here in Illinois, this is a new relationship, but around the country, there are 20 states where statewide election authorities, usually whether it's a Secretary of State or a board like ours, have entered into these kinds of relationships. So as we undertook this, we consulted with our counterparts across the country. General Hayes has been in communication with his counterparts across the country. So this is something that is developing as a best practice. Being the 20th state, we're not the first to the party, but we're not going to be the last. So we're excited about it. And General Hayes very much understands the independent role that we play in this process, and we believe that the National Guard, with the high regard that communities around the state have for its abilities, it's a natural complement to ours. So.
Is this the first time Illinois has used the National Guard in national election?
Yes, it would be the first time. Prior to 16, there really wasn't too much malfeasance that came up. It was really the 16 election where we saw that this became an issue. And most of the states around the nation turned to the National Guard to have discussions since then. And that's how this relationship built.
So the relationship wasn't there in 2016. We're just seeing this right now for the first time.
Yeah, in the last couple years, that's correct.
Yep.
What's the greatest fear that you have as we march towards this election? We had what happened in 2016. Of course, the reason why we have this large group of people is we want to prevent that from happening again. Greatest fear that you, as you go towards this?
Oh gosh, there's a lot of things that can go wrong with elections that happen all the time in terms of cybersecurity. If I had fears several months ago, they've been much allayed by the presence of the general and his wonderful staff. But elections are tricky things. They happen not only on an election day now, they happen over a period of time. So that window of time is open longer. I suppose that's it, just now that we're dealing with a longer period of time when something could occur.
So how does this relationship help if they're in a standby mode? Because they're not actively working, right? Is that our understanding? Just to make sure we got it.
Well, when Bill and his team asked to meet with us, my team met with his team, and we have been talking. DoIT is another part of the team. We've been training with Do It for well over a couple years now, participating in national level exercises. So we're not unknown to each other. And so it's basically building a team. We have a few exercises that are ongoing between now and the actual election date. So we're just building capacity and knowledge and trust through that whole process.
To make sure that you guys work like this when something does come up.
That's correct, yep.
You said that no voter registration records were taken, and no election results were compromised in 2016. So how do you know that they're in there? Can you kind of break it down for us? How do you know someone is in there? Are you watching them hack in? And how do you prevent them from compromising our
With that, we're going to
elections?
quickly exceed my technical capability, so that's why we've got this large team assembled. Sure.
Chris Hilka can do that.
Either Chris or Kyle, if you introduce yourself when you come up to
Yeah,
it.
just give your name and spell it and your title first.
Kyle Thomas, Director of Voting and Registration Systems with the Illinois State Board of Elections. In regards to the 2016 incident that occurred, no voter records were altered, no results were affected whatsoever. It was an intrusion into our statewide registration database where they were able to view approximately 76,000 voter records. And as soon as it was discovered, the hole was closed, and we then began assessing the situation. And once we assessed the situation and figured out whose information had been viewed, we then contacted those voters.
So 2016 was about voter data. Are you talking about being prepared and concerned about actual votes? You know, is that a concern?
Yeah, the whole process is always a concern. And so that's what, the whole process is always being watched by our locals at the state level. And that's what this is to help with, not only the process leading up to Election Day, but also on Election Day, to be another resource to our locals who, as Sally mentioned, are the ones that actually conduct the elections on Election Day and leading up to it.
Technically, what's changed since the intrusion in 2016 that says, you say that we should feel more confident in the fundamentals, we were well protected, that sort of thing. What's changed since that attack?
There's been a lot more partnerships formed nationally and across the state. A lot more resources are being thrust at this, and a lot more attention is being driven in this direction to try and help, again, the locals that are conducting the actual elections.
If those partnerships had existed in 2016, would we have not seen what happened, or did you want to see it beforehand, or was it inevitable, or?
Yeah, I mean, I can't really predict. It definitely would have helped if there would have been more insight and more knowledge of nation-state actors in this arena.
Is there a plan if voter data is viewed again, or if results, you talked about the paper trail, but if results, there's at least some attempt to mess with results, is there a plan to notify the public about it? You contacted the people who were affected last time. Is there going to be, the day it happens, some notification, or will we find out after the election? What's the plan for public notification?
That's really going to depend on the situation at hand. Again, in 2016, it was individuals' registration records had been viewed, so we had a requirement to contact them and make them aware of that. But it's definitely going to depend on what the situation is.
Oh, and I just want to point out, after the 2016 intrusion, Steve Sandvoss went to Washington and testified before the Senate Intelligence Committee. The Senate Intelligence Committee, bipartisan group, said that our agency handled that in an outstanding fashion, and the transparency that they wanted to see was performed here in Illinois. I would like to take some credit for it, but that was under my predecessor, Chairman Schultz. But as an agency, our mission is election administration and security, but we've also been throughout this process, and frankly, that's why we're here today. We want to be transparent about it and to let the public know we're doing these things and working with the local election authorities to make sure that everybody has good information.
If I might step up on that real quick.
To the mic, please.
Yes. Just stepping up real quick on your question. There are audits that are required under state law. 5% of all ballots are recounted. Those are public processes. All the election night results tapes that the election judge signed off on are signed. Those are audited as well. There are public processes that are built in that also protect against this new threat vector.
You said you were looking forward to the start of the Navigator program. Can you tell me why?
Yeah. So the bottom line is there's a ton of great information coming at us. The Center for Internet Security put out a great document with 82 recommendations. The Belfer Center put out a great document. There's a lot of good information. The Center for Internet Security has 22 controls, which are fantastic. What election offices, many of them lack, is the capacity to absorb that and institutionalize it quickly, and we need to move along that path as fast as possible. So I think the legislature and the governor signed a bill that said, let's get that level of expertise into every office as soon as possible. So I think the state's board's plan of hiring 9 people and getting them on the ground, getting baseline assessments of all 108 offices' current capacity and moving them along a more professional path is critical. And I think every state in the nation ought to be following a similar path.
The timeline on that is after the 18 midterms, yes?
What's going on now?
Or these assessments are going on now?
So that's, I'll turn that over to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Identify yourself.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Chris Hill. I am the Chief Information Security Officer for the state of Illinois. I work for the Department of Innovation and Technology, and we are a conspirator here in the fact of having these navigator programs going and keeping an eye on the cybersecurity that's going on out the county level. It really is the navigator program, as Noah alluded to, is to help set a secure posture across each county. As you can imagine, that the counties from one end of the state and from the east side of the state to the west side of the state vary in great vast arenas of what they have and the capabilities that they have from the cyber perspective. So the job is to go out from the navigator program and to set a posture, to look at a posture, and based on the CIS controls that Noah had alluded to, what we want to do is set a posture and then raise that posture, set a posture, then raise that posture across the state to help ensure that we're doing the best we can to elude and alleviate the pains that these folks are going to have. Sally has been here from day one, helping in this space. One thing that Sally can attest to is that the day she was elected, she had no thought or concept of what cybersecurity was going to be. So the fact that these elected officials are now having to not only man the voting registration system, but also deal with the cyber threat that's amongst us. So the job is to really get out, get that cyber navigator function rolling to understand our posture across each election official, and then set that posture and then raise it. This is an ongoing effort. It won't end here in November, right? It's going to continue. We got more and more elections that are upcoming, and we want to continue to build that bridge. So
So you started checking out various counties, is that?
that is correct, yes.
Anybody else?
Just one last question that's general, just in terms of talking to voters, they are worried about this election. I know you've kind of spoken to it already, but maybe speak to it again, just in allaying any concerns, because you guys are being transparent. You're talking about, you've got a force of people behind you to try to make this process as secure as possible. Can you talk about that a little bit in terms of what you would say to voters?
I'd say that we're prepared. We're as prepared as we know how to be right now, given the information that we have. And we've got a great team, a team that was assembled quickly but thoroughly and in a well-informed way. We're adopting some of the best practices from other states around the country, and that people should get out and vote, because your vote is going to count. And at the end of the day, we believe it's going to be securely counted, and would urge everybody to get out and vote. And I think all of us would join. The first line of defense for secure elections is we need trained election judges and equipment managers. And so I'll just give a public service announcement for people that want to take a direct interest in the safe and secure administration of elections, is to be an election judge. It's a long day. The training takes about another half a day, but we believe that is the way that citizens can get involved and help us in these efforts.
Bill, could I add?
Sure.
Just as a downstater, where resources are sometimes a little thinner and spread further, the big takeaway today is that thanks to General Hayes and his leadership and the partnership with the Guard, if someone tries to disrupt the election, say on Election Day, November 6th, we can have a Guardsman expert dispatched within an hour to anywhere in Illinois. We'll have boots on the ground in whatever county, whatever election authority is affected within an hour. So having the Guard just gives us tremendous increase in capacity.
Put your name back on the record if you don't mind for us, so we
Chuck Schultz.
Okay, so spell your last name.
SCHOLZ.
And your former,
I'm the former chairman, current board member.
fantastic, thank you.
I just want to mention one more thing. if you don't
Yeah,
mind.
go ahead.
I just want to mention one more thing, actually. I think that you brought up, ma'am, I don't remember your name. I'm sorry. Yeah, hi. You mentioned the results, and how can we be sure that results aren't changed? Well, as a local election official, we count those results. Those are all in a secure facility. They're brought back, but they're not done until 14 days after the election. So even though you see something on a website that says John Doe wins and Karen Doe doesn't, that could be something that maybe some hackers out there trying to manipulate those things to thwart democracy. And we need to pay attention to those things, that is not the result on election day. It's not until 14 days after. We still have many votes to count yet, or overseas and by mail and things like that. So I just wanted to make mention of that. Thanks.
And just real quick, Jim Allen is here from the City of Chicago Board of Election Commissioners, along with a Commissioner, Bill Cressy, who's there in the back. Jim, you've got a big election coming up too? We don't want to look past November, but if you just want to.
Well, going back to the question, one of the keys to our security is the physical security of having a paper ballot. So I don't want any of you to come away from this news conference thinking that the first time that we thought about security was in 2016. When we bought all of our equipment, Illinois was one of the states that required from the start that every single ballot had to have a paper trail. There had to be a paper trail. So you have in other states questions being resolved now or still being raised now about electronic voting equipment that has no paper trail. And if that electronic file goes awry, they've got nothing to back it up. We have always had a fully auditable paper trail. We've been through recounts before of 2016 on very close contests where we were able to go through every single ballot and we found no discrepancies whatsoever between Election Day and the final recount. Secondly, going back to this paper trail, even on the transmissions, even in the scenario I think you're alluding to that someone hacks the transmissions of the results, the transmissions of the results are duplicated, and then we have two redundancies on election night. So the first results that come out, because all of us want election results within 45 minutes of polls closing, or else there's something fishy. So we have these unrealistic expectations as a voting public, and we're trying to meet those demands, so we have electronic transmission, but then we have a full redundant, double redundant system. So in Chicago, for example, those results then go to a receiving station with a T1 line that's virtually impenetrable. And then they're retransmitted again, and then those results go to Election Central, and we're loaded in person. And ultimately, like I said, we have those paper ballots, whether they're from the touchscreen, early voting, vote by mail, military overseas. Everything is paper-based and auditable.